No, this is John. My name is John, and let me start by saying what an honor it is to have you here. And I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to help make this happen.
It's absolutely my pleasure. It's actually my honor. It's actually my honor to be here. So it is indeed my honor to be speaking to this wonderful group of individuals who have come together in what I'm sure is a sense of true idealism, not emotionally based, brainless idealism, as unfortunately is the case with so many people today in 2019. So many people who think they're idealistic, but their idealism is unfortunately based upon various modes of illusory brainwashing rather than individuals who truly can think for themselves. And I know that the individuals on this group are exactly the latter, people who think for themselves and who are idealistic in the true sense of that term, that they truly want to make this world into a better place. So again, it is my honor to be here with you all. As I think was mentioned by Tulasi before we begin, and primarily like the last time, I would like people to just ask whatever questions they would like. But before we do that, with your indulgence, I would like to just say something for a few words to just kind of start things off, if that's all right.
Absolutely, it's our pleasure.
Wonderful. Well, several things. First of all, let me explain my somewhat long absence because, of course, I met with your group and did an interview, at this point, maybe 5 months ago, something like that. And we had talked about possibly doing this on a somewhat regular basis, but of course that didn't happen. And the reason why that is the case is those who know me know that I've been on a sabbatical for the last several months. I have purposefully been in a type of spiritual isolation where I've been basically living the life of almost a hermit for the last several months. And that has been very much on purpose, the reason being just a preparation of myself for what is to come. And as far as what is to come, I just want to talk about that very, very briefly. Again, having some idea of what your members are like and understanding just how intelligent and idealistic they are, I think many people understand that we are in a time of transition right now. We're in a time where globally the world is changing. The world is changing very dramatically. The world has been what I call crazy, insane for the last several hundred years, at least since the Enlightenment era. I trace it back essentially to the Enlightenment era of, let's say, the late 1600s, early 1700s, beginning around then. The world has gone away from natural order. It's gone away from the traditional order that was there previously, where God was in the center, nature was in the center, people tried to live with honor, people tried to live good, moral lives of integrity. And all of that, of course, incrementally has been turned on its head. It's been turned quite literally upside down for the last several hundred years, and historically exponentially so. As more and more time has gone on, we've seen that this systematic process of the degeneration of world culture has increased dramatically to the point where, for myself, as someone who's slightly older than probably many of the people on your server, I've seen it myself with my own eyes. Now it seems that things are getting worse and worse almost on a monthly basis. I'll forget about a yearly or decade basis. Almost on a monthly basis, we see new forms of degeneration and craziness, both politically, spiritually, culturally, in every way, like we've never seen before. Now, all that, of course, is the negative. What I think many of us also now see is the fact that things are turning around. And we see that on many different fronts. Primarily, and for myself, of course, as a spiritual teacher, this is the most important thing for myself. Spiritually, we are beginning to see groups of individuals who are beginning to embrace what I call authentic spirituality. And this is what I mean by authentic spirituality. Since, let's say, the 60s, of course, there's been a great interest in quote-unquote spirituality, but of a more, let's say, New Age sort of variety, without any actual substance to it, not rooted in the traditional scriptures of the legitimate world religions. And not all world religions are legitimate by any means, but of those that are, what we've seen is that the spirituality that people have been practicing for the last roughly 50 years, especially since the 60s, has not been rooted in something real. Well, what we are beginning to see is that that's turning around. We now have many people who are tired of fluff answers to their spiritual questions. They don't want just feel-good answers. They want the answer. They want the answer now. They want spirituality that is based upon truly the ancient and more the eternal. Also politically, we have seen that there are now movements and situations and events happening throughout the world that is bringing our world into a very good place. Things are actually going in a very good direction. That's true both in America. This is true now in Brazil, but other nations in Latin America. This is true throughout the length and breadth of Europe, where several nations that were being held hostage by demonic forces are slowly becoming liberated from those demonic forces. And truthfully, we haven't seen anything yet. We have not seen anything yet. We have just seen the very beginnings. It's like what the Rig Veda speaks of. When before Surya, before the sun even rises, first you have Ushas, the dawn. First you see the dawn. First you see these little inklings of light such that you have hope. But then the sun rises. And all evil is blinded by that sun. Well, that's what we are going to see. This is indeed going to happen. I'm not the only person who says this. I probably do say this more than most and in more detail, and with more actual practical direction. But I'm not the only person who sees this. Indeed, like I said, I'm sure most of the people listening to me right now also see that this is the case, and that we have enormous reason for hope. Now, all this being the case, this is why it has been of great importance to me to speak to your group. This is the second time that we're speaking together. And interestingly, as I begin to slowly come back to the world from this spiritual sabbatical that I've been on in preparation for what's going to come, it was very purposefully that I chose your group to be one of the first groups that I speak to. Interestingly, there are even many of my disciples who I have not spoken to for 5 months. And they're very understanding. They understand why that's the case, that I'm on this serious sabbatical. But the reason why I have chosen to speak to your group as the very first public group that I'm speaking to now, as my sabbatical slowly comes to an end, is indeed, again, because of the nature of the individuals who are there, who are listening to me right now. What we need, and I have spoken about this almost endlessly, not just in my videos and other places, but personally with groups of my disciples and other people of greater importance in the world. What we are lacking and what we have needed has been leadership. People who know my material know that I've spoken about this again and again and again. Well, the individuals who are on this group are individuals who, of course, not everyone, I don't know everyone on this group, but I do know that many of the people on this group are precisely the sort of individuals who need to transform themselves and become empowered by God such that they can become among the leaders that we need in the immediate future to bring us back to light. That being the case, I just want to say very briefly just a few things about what is necessary for us to do to transform ourselves to become such leaders. And again, the reason why I'm talking about this is because people ask me about this endlessly. And the truth is, we can talk about this for many hours, but I just want to mention a few things. to all of your members who are here. If you want to become a positive leader, an individual who indeed is going to help to bring about a restoration of Dharma, of natural order into this world, these are the things you need. First of all, you need selflessness. You need selflessness. A leader is an individual who does not think about his own needs. He does not think about his own well-being. He does not think about merely how is A, B, or C course of action going to help me or mine. Rather, a leader, a true leader, by definition, is selfless. And what that means is that they do everything in a completely detached manner. It means that they do for the sake of duty. They do as seva, as service to God, as service to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So this is the first thing, is that if we can cultivate a sense of selflessness, true selflessness, in the spiritual sense, that will go a long way toward making us the sort of leaders that we should be. The second thing, and again very briefly, because I can talk about each of these qualities probably for hours, the second one is fearlessness. And by fearlessness, I don't mean bravado. I don't mean drama. I don't mean showing off. You know, I've met many, many people who thought they were leaders, and essentially it was just bravado. They were simply kind of showing off. By fearlessness, what I mean is indeed understanding that there is nothing to fear. Understanding that we truly, as Prabhupada has told us so many times in so many ways, in so many books and so many talks, we are not this body. The body can come and go. The body can be pierced. The body can be burned. So many things can happen to the body. But we have no reason to fear because we are beings who are above body. We are beings who are above the material. This being the case, this has the ability to give us a sense of fearlessness that will strike fear in the hearts of our enemies. When they meet someone who they understand has zero fear to them, they absolutely tremble in their shoes. The third thing is a sense of self-discipline. And self-discipline, like iron. Individuals, again, who have known my work know that I don't mince words. There's nothing new agey or fluffy about me. We need to become beings who have absolute self-discipline in every way, to the point where we literally are like steel. And what does that mean? Well, that means beginning in our personal habits, beginning in our personal characteristics and behavior. What it means to be an individual who is self-disciplined is that when we set our sights upon a goal, nothing exists except for the achievement of that goal. No distractions, no, again, personal fears, no bad habits, no selfish desires. Nothing exists except the discipline that is necessary and the focus to achieve that goal. So this is the sort of individual we should become. And more, this is going to lead to the last thing that I'm going to talk about. But I'll begin talking about this now. And again, for individuals who know me, this is something else that I'm very strict about. And I don't play games about this. As part of that self-discipline, what this means is that as leaders, as individuals who, what does it mean to be a leader? It means we're a model. It means we are an exemplar. If you don't want to be an exemplar, if you don't want to be an example to others, don't call yourself a leader. Call yourself a follower. Followers are wonderful. Followers are, we need followers. But unless you can be an example to others, do not call yourself a leader, because that is by definition what a leader is. What does this mean? It means that we do not take drugs of any kind whatsoever. You need to relax, you work hard, you go to the gym. Like I do. I'm at the gym lifting weights for an hour and a half a day, 5 to 6 days a week. It means that you don't drink alcohol. You truly don't. Not even a beer once in a while. For those individuals who are followers of Prabhupada, especially the older ones like myself who I saw Prabhupada, we know, you don't drink. There's no such thing as, I'm going to have a beer on the weekend. Beer is poison. Alcohol is poisonous to the system. More drugs and alcohol are poisonous to the psyche. Again, this alone is something that I can talk about for hours. but it means that we don't smoke. It means that we have sexual fidelity. And what does that mean? Well, without going into great detail, at the very least, it means that we don't sleep around. It means that we respect who we ourselves are sexually and the sexual power that we have, etc. So, in this way, we are self-disciplined. The last thing that I want to talk about, and interestingly, this is one of the most important, and really it should be the very first thing that we think about before we even so much think about the last three things that I mentioned. And that is health. If we're going to be leaders, if we're even going to be good followers, if we're simply going to be individuals who in a real way want to pursue truth, we need health. That means we take care of ourselves. That means, like I was saying before, you go to the gym, you keep physically fit. If you're overweight, you lose that weight. You take your vitamins. It means you eat a healthy diet, certainly a vegetarian diet, but more than just vegetarian, a very healthy diet with the proper vegetables and fruits and grains and mixtures thereof. It means that we take care of our health, both physically, but also emotionally, mentally, psychically. All those, for now, I'm putting in the same category. It means that we need healing from our trauma. Now, let me explain what I mean by that, and then I'm going to end this little monologue with this. We are living in truly the depths of the Kali Yuga. We're living in America, and don't get me going on what America has become. It is the belly of the beast. We are living in America, in this demonic culture, in 2019. What does this mean? Well, for those of us who are born in the belly of the beast, you kind of get accustomed to being in the belly of the beast. But for those individuals who are not accustomed, really, to such degeneracy, to such a degenerate culture, for many of us who were born more intelligent, more sensitive, individuals who were born with a true spiritual inkling, individuals especially who in previous lives most likely were already on a spiritual path. When we find ourselves in this world, in America, in 2019, this atmosphere is so different and so assaulting upon our sensibilities to the point where many individuals today are traumatized. They may know that, they may not know that, but they are still suffering the effects nonetheless. I am guessing that for many of the individuals, again, who are on this server, many of you do know that about yourselves. I can't tell you how many of my disciples, most of my disciples, I'd say 90%, are individuals who are under 30. And many of them have been individuals who indeed were traumatized by this world in one way or another because they find themselves being born either Brahmanas or Kshatriyas, individuals who were born to be honorable and good, and they find themselves in an environment that cultivates the opposite. As a result, they have a very difficult time. We need to heal ourselves of this psychic trauma that has occurred as a result of being spiritual individuals in the most materialistic of ages. In fact, if anything, we need to begin with that. And how do we do that? Of course, spiritually. We do that by healing ourselves inwardly. We do that through meditation. We do that through good association. We do that through cultivating the very opposite of what this demonic culture attempts to get us to cultivate. This is how we do this. So, leaders, if you wish to be leaders, this is the beginning. These 4 items that I have mentioned. First and foremost, and again, I left this for last, but really it's first. Health and healing yourself from any traumas you may have suffered. Selflessness, fearlessness, and self-discipline. And with that, thank you very much for your indulgence. I'll stop there, and I would like to see if there are any questions about anything. It doesn't have to be just about what we just discussed, but anything at all.
Thank you, Acharya, so much for your faith in us, first of all. But secondly, I can personally say that the introduction you just gave, the beautiful introduction you gave, was very to a lot of questions and conversations we've been having recently. And I know you're aware that that's no coincidence.
No, it's not. It's not a coincidence at all. And of course, I don't participate in your group at all. But it doesn't surprise me that you have already been discussing these things at all. We're on the same page.
I was asking if there was anything else we wanted to cover before we started with the questions, with your permission, of course.
Yeah, I'm certainly good, but if anyone wants to say or ask anything, that's fine.
Okay. How should we prepare for helping to usher in the coming golden age? How should we act once it happens? Specifically, how should Kshatriyas and Brahmanas prepare for it?
Very good. Yes, I guess I did hear the entirety of the question, even though it cut out. It was actually good timing. Several things. First of all, by understanding, of course, what is meant by the golden age. The only way that you can achieve X thing is if you understand the definition of X thing. So first of all, what is meant by a golden age? And again, this is something that we could talk about extremely in depth. I've actually talked about literally what a golden age looks like in many, many long talks that I've given. But in essence, let me just explain that in this way. The way that we can understand a golden age by example is by looking at previous golden ages. And of course, the way that we understand that is by looking at ancient literature. Certainly the Vedic literature, but not just the Vedic literature. If we look at any truly ancient literature that then in turn records what civilizations were like certainly previous to the Kali Yuga, but even in the very first, let's say, 500 to 1,000 years of the Kali Yuga, we have examples of what is meant by a golden age. But to explain that, again, extremely briefly, what a golden age looks like is an age where the majority of individuals, and it's never everyone. You see, again, that's where unrealistic idealism comes in. But the majority of individuals are endeavoring to follow natural law, and they are doing so because the government is fully endeavoring to practice natural law and to encourage others to practice natural law. That's what a golden age looks like. The result of such a golden age is that, of course, individuals are living optimal lives. That means they are as spiritual as they can be. They are healthy. They are following natural patterns, natural lifestyles. As a result, they have mental peace. They have mental, physical, emotional health, etc., etc. And again, we can go much deeper, but let me just stop there. That's what a golden age looks like. Now, how do we begin to bring about a golden age? First of all, we begin now to live as if we are denizens of a golden age. In other words, we become personal examples of what a golden age looks like, and we do that in the face of modernity. Quite literally. We do that in the face of modernity, meaning in the two senses that we're doing it despite modernity, and we're doing it also, secondly, quite literally, kind of thumbing our nose at modernity, in the face of modernity. We have this attitude that, yes, I understand what the prevailing culture is. Yes, I understand that for the last 30 years, party has gone from a noun to a verb. That now what it means to party is, that's what the culture is. Yeah, I understand, and I don't care. I intend to live as if I am a denizen of the golden age. I intend to live authentically. I intend to live a true life. So that's the beginning, is that we agree within ourselves to have that be the case. Then, that being the case, if we then want to more actively begin to help bring about a golden age, the second thing that we have to do is, again, I'm going to keep coming back to this theme, leadership. We need to first look for leaders. not try to become leaders ourselves, interestingly. First, we have to look for leaders. We have to look for those individuals who already are there, who are individuals who are showing the way by their personal example, by everything that they're doing, by the work that they are doing, and we need to rally around the flag of that individual as if that person is the king and we are warriors rallying around the flag of the king. Now, in addition to that, and as an extension of that, we, of course, ourselves need to, as much as possible, become leaders. After we have ourselves found a leader, we then need to become leaders ourselves, using that leader who we have found as our example. Again, for those who remember the last talk that we did, again, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, we talked about this, about the way that you become a leader is you find a leader and have that person train you, have that person teach you. Watch that person with unblinking eyes and see what they do, see how they speak, see what their character is. Quite literally, allow yourself to be nurtured by the effulgence of that person. Allow your heart to be nurtured by the effulgence and energy of that person. And in that way, you become a leader. Then finally, practically, what we are to do is throw ourselves intelligently into waking our people up. This is the number one task that we have today, to bring about a golden age. Our people, and we have to see them in this way, our people are sleeping. They are victims. We need to have compassion toward them. Anytime we even see some of our people and they're saying or doing the wrong thing and even seem to be helping the enemy, we need to actually not just throw them into the different category themselves of enemy. No, what we need to do is have compassion for them. Some of them have become enemies, and unfortunately there is no coming back for them. But most individuals, they are simply victims themselves. They are literally asleep. When you see someone who has fallen under some sort of illness and they're unconscious, rather than being angry at them, what do we need to do? We need to wake them up. And sometimes gently. If you see someone who's unconscious, you don't want to just take a bucket of water and throw it in their face. That will do the job. It'll wake them up. It'll also almost traumatize them. Instead, if we have true compassion, we need to wake them up. Well, this is our task today. This is true spiritually, primarily. This is true politically. This is true culturally. This is true in every way. We need to wake people up. Now, what does that mean? See how one thing is leading to another. So what does that mean now? How do you wake people up? Well, a variety of ways. It begins, first of all, with you yourself understanding what is the nature of this world, why we are where we find ourselves, what is necessary to bring about a golden age, why we should desire that, and then formulate your arguments. Formulate what you are going to say to people and how you're going to communicate that message. What is the vehicle through which you're going to communicate that? Well, of course, we know. What is the vehicle today? The vehicle is the internet. Interestingly, there's this term that, for myself, having been involved very quietly in politics for a very long time, there's this term that has come about, the keyboard warriors. You know, it's kind of a negative epithet. Oh, you're just a keyboard warrior. Truthfully, we need keyboard warriors because that's where the world is right now. People's minds are on the internet. You see, we want to affect people's minds. People's minds are on the internet. I think we understand that. So we need to reach out to people's minds wherever those minds are. So in this way, we have to wake up our people. And when it gets to the point where enough individuals are awoken and will start voting the right way and will start organizing the right way and intelligently, and we'll start creating culture and art and music and all sorts of aesthetic forms that will communicate our message to the masses, it comes to the point where we have changed the culture. We may not have seized power yet, but we have changed the culture. And once you've changed the culture, it's only a matter of time before you seize power and you then have a Dharma government and Dharma governance. And that will bring about a golden age. So I hope that answered the questions.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for the insight there. Again, it's extremely relevant to not only recent topics and conversations we've been having, but not only within ourselves, but with other people. But it's just generally relevant to what's been going on right now. A lot of people seem to have the idea that you should write off the so-called, a lot of the low-level social justice warriors, when in fact a lot of them have what they think are good intention.
Very quickly, can I just say something about that?
Absolutely.
Let me tell you a few of my closest disciples started off as practically social justice warriors. In fact, a few of them quite literally were. I mean, quite literally engaged in protests and things like that. Now they are quite literally the opposite of social justice warriors. So yes, it can be done with patience and intelligence, and it should be done. There are individuals who, the reason why they're social justice warriors is because they were evil to begin with, and they're just narcissistic sociopaths. Those are the individuals who you don't even want to bother with. Because even if you turn them around ideologically, well, you'd have individuals sharing your worldview who are narcissistic sociopaths, and who needs that? We don't need such people in our ranks. Instead, those individuals who, again, they just are misguided. Yeah, we need to be patient with them, and we need to be compassionate, and we need to just try our best to explain. And if they're not ready to listen, then we don't bother right then. We wait until they are ready to listen. But yes, there are many people who we should not write off. In fact, if anything, it's been shown historically that individuals very often who started on the left but then become its opposite end up being some of the most dedicated, energetic people you can have on your side. That's been shown historically. Give me an ex-communist any day, someone who has fire in his belly and will use that same fire to fight communism. You've got something powerful there.
Very well said. This is obviously not what we prepared for, but everything seems to be following this topic theme so well, because the next question almost leads off perfectly. And with your permission, I'll just go into it now.
Please, absolutely.
For those of us here that are Vaishnavas, do you have any advice for finding pure, genuine devotees to associate ourselves with?
Yes, excellent. Very, very, very important question, actually. I also am a Vaishnava. And interestingly, just as an aside, for those individuals who don't know, the people who know me, even slightly well, know this about me, but not everyone may know this interesting history that I personally have had. I have been a Vaishnava for most of my life, the vast majority of my life. And for myself, I actually have initiation in 2 different sampradayas, which sometimes confuses people, but really shouldn't, because there are 4 authentic sampradayas. Prabhupada even wrote about this, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Many people have said this, that there are 4 absolutely authentic, legitimate Vaishnava sampradayas, and I'm initiated in 2 of them. The first initiation that I received was when I was approximately 14, maybe 15, and it was in what is called the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, which is the most orthodox of all the sampradayas, all the Vaishnava sampradayas. My guru was Sri Yatiraja Acharya, and he gave me initiation in New York. After that, I then also received initiation in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, and specifically from the most respected godbrother of Srila Prabhupada who ever lived, and that is His Divine Grace Bhakti Rakshaka Sridhar Swami. My guru, Sridhar Swami, and Prabhupada were extremely close. They literally lived together for almost 5 years, in the 1940s, I believe. So they were very close. So this individual gave me initiation and Brahmana initiation in 1985 and 86, respectively. So for myself, I am definitely a Vaishnava. And yes, having proper association is crucial. And of course, it is very difficult to find these days. Without getting into, let's say, the politics, for example, of ISKCON, some individuals know that ISKCON in the last, well, since Prabhupada left, has gone through ups and downs. There have been many controversies that have happened. Many people left ISKCON. I think 90% of individuals left ISKCON, probably for good reason. Again, there was a lot of corruption that was there. So as a result, to find a truly good association, even among individuals who call themselves Vaishnavas, it's a little bit difficult. But then at the same time, this should not be something that's discouraging. Because you see, something that is truly worthwhile should not be that easy to get. So to find truly good, intelligent, legitimate Vaishnavas, again, takes a little bit of effort on our part. And let me just say very simply and practically, it's a matter of looking. First of all, let me back up. It's not just a matter of looking. It's a matter of knowing what you're looking for. That's the first thing, understanding what you're looking for. And again, let me just say this. What you are looking for, if you're looking for legitimate Vaishnava fellowship and association, is you're looking for authenticity. You're looking for individuals who don't just call themselves Vaishnavas, but who truly uphold Vaishnava principles fully and completely. That is, they're not New Agey. They're not New Age Vaishnavas. Oh, Krishna's wonderful. Oh, but I like everything. And, that kind of fluffiness, no backbone, no spiritual backbone. No, you want to avoid such individuals. You need to find individuals who have truly inculcated Vaishnava behavior in their life. And that means not just the externals, not just, oh, well, yes, this person is following all the regulative principles. Sure, they have to be doing that too. But more, they have to be individuals who, when you meet them, you feel love. When you meet them, you feel this is someone who, with great dignity, truly loves God with everything that they are. So again, there's no easy answer to this. It's up to each individual to find other individuals and communities that are like that. Just do everything that you have to. Go on, of course, the internet. Contact people, call people. Do everything that you can to try to find such individuals, and also have this be a filtering process. You'll meet lots of people, and you filter out the ones who don't meet this, all these criteria. You keep the ones that do, and little by little, you'll find one friend who is a true Vaishnava and someone who is inspiring to you, and then you'll meet another one and another one. It will take time, but this is what we do. Does that answer the question?
Thank you so much. It definitely does, and as always, it has a deep personal resonance with me, just based off my own experiences, but I know for a fact it does with people in this very channel. And the next question keeps with the theme, but it deviates a little bit. It is, you've previously referred to European paganism as a twin sister to Sanatana Dharma. Is a path like Asatru seen as another path within Sanatana Dharma, such as Shaivism or Shaktism, or is it viewed as a totally separate faith, such as the Abrahamic faiths?
I'll answer that first very simply, but then go into a little bit of depth, and the way I answer this simply should actually give you the answer. Especially whenever I go to the gym, which again is 5 to 6 days a week, and I'm there for like an hour and a half just exclusively lifting weights. Whenever I go to the gym, I always wear my Thor's hammer under my clothes. So that should give you some indication that yes, I myself, wear a Thor's hammer, and I actually know several of the top leaders of Asatru in the nation. I've even actually given one of them initiation, actually. He's the third most important Asatru leader in the nation. Maybe that's actually giving away too much information, but at least I won't give you his name. But yes, when it comes to the commonalities between Sanatana Dharma and the pre-Christian European religions, they are the same. The only difference being this, and this needs to be understood historically. The only real difference being this. The further back you go in time, and especially to truly pre-Christian, pre-Judaic times, and you look at these various religions, yes, they were extremely Vedic. And the further back you go, the more that was the case, to the point where you truly go into prehistory. These religions truly were Vedic in so many senses. Now, of course, historically, what occurred was that these religions came under attack by Abrahamism, by Christianity specifically. Judaized Christianity, one could say, not the true Christianity of Jesus, but they came under attack. Their priests were killed. The Asatru priests, the Roman priests, the Celtic priests, the Slavic pagan priests, all of their religious leaders were killed. What few books were written down were burnt, and most were not written down, actually, which is also unfortunate. The temples were destroyed, sacred groves were destroyed, where it was understood that in this sacred grove, deep within nature, you can feel the presence of a divine being. You can feel the presence of a deva or a devi. Those were quite literally destroyed by Christian missionaries. So as a result, now, so many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years later, while we can still say that, yes, these pagan religions like Asatru, they are still sister religions, they're broken. And what's interesting is, I don't know of any pagan leader who would disagree with that. They all agree. They all understand this. You know, that's why they call it pagan reconstructionism. They're trying to reconstruct these pagan religions, and they themselves understand that they will never be able to fully do that. And what do? And again, many of them are very open about this. They turn to Sanatana Dharma to fill in the blanks, to fill in those things that are missing and destroyed. And specifically, I can tell you, when it comes to sadhana, they do not have a sadhana. So, for example, these Asatru leaders who approached me, they asked me to help them to begin to create a sadhana for them based upon the sadhana of Sanatana Dharma, on yoga, on meditation, on mantra, etc. So yes, this is completely missing. And how can you have a religious practice if you don't have a sadhana, if you don't have an actual practice that you do every day in order to help transform yourself as an individual? They don't have that because it's just been destroyed. So this is how we need to understand this, that these are indeed sister religions. We see them as victimized sisters of Sanatana Dharma, sisters and brothers. These paths were victimized by the Abrahamic religions. As a result, they are a shadow of what they once were, but we love them. We love them. We recognize that these individuals 2,000 years ago, when they were worshiping Odin and Thor and the entire Nordic pantheon, what they were practicing was they were worshiping the devas. And they were upholding Dharma, and they were living lives of honor. They were Arya. They were living lives of nobility, true Vedic nobility in every way. So we need to help them in every way that we can to come back to what they were. And they can only do that with the help of Sanatana Dharma. Does that answer the question?
First, I'd like to thank you for trusting us with that little snippet of information. But not only did it answer it, I think it answered it so well that it spilled over into the next question so well that we don't even need to go into it now.
Oh, well, whatever you desire. It's up to your discretion.
I'll actually just skip over it. So the next question is a little not off topic, but I myself and a lot of others feel that you might be one of the only authorities we ever know or who has any inkling of an idea on that. But the question is, it is sometimes said that the land of Shambhala is in the inner earth. Do Vedic scriptures support or contradict the idea of an interior world hidden underneath the surface?
Excellent question. Yeah, this is a somewhat more esoteric question, but it's something that I can answer and authoritatively. Yes, there is an inner earth, according to the Vedic scriptures. There are Nagas who live there. There are advanced beings who live there. There are yogis who historically have quote-unquote disappeared, and in actuality what they've done is ventured into these inner earths to complete their samadhi. Yeah, they have gone into the interior of the planet. So yes, it is indeed a fact. There are many beings within the inner earth, and this I've talked about a little bit, specifically the Nagas. The Nagas are very interesting. People always confuse the Nagas as demonic beings or really bad beings, not understanding that, and by the Nagas, for those who don't understand that term, those are what are sometimes called reptilians. individuals who they're very tall, they're very powerful, they look like lizards. They do indeed. They have mystical powers, etc., etc. But what people often don't quite understand is that just like there are various human and subhuman races, and let me just state it that way, in the same way, there are various races of Nagas. Nagas are not just all the same. There are indeed the Nagas that live in the Earth's interior, and then there are what we would call off-world Nagas, Nagas who live on other planets. For that matter, there are humans who live on other planets, but that's for a different, a different question maybe. Those Nagas who live on the interior of the Earth are very, very mixed beings. The ones who live off-world are quite evil. Let me just state it this way. If what we call UFOs, if a UFO ever lands and you see a reptilian being come out of it and start walking toward you, run in the opposite direction as quickly as you can. Because you have, in the eyes of that reptilian, you are a Big Mac for him. Start running in the opposite direction. But when it comes to the ones who live in the interior of the Earth, they're not so bad. The reason why is because we know that, and this is a story that is there in the Buddhist scriptures that not a lot of people know about. The Buddha himself went to the interior of the Earth and conversed with the king of the Nagas, the underworld Nagas, and quite literally converted him to Dharma, to the point where the king also made the decree that all of his followers also have to begin following Dharma. So for the past roughly 2,500 years, that's been the case. This is why you don't really hear of many, let's say, attacks from these beings, etc., whereas there used to be previous to that. This might be going a little bit too in-depth for people and giving away too much knowledge, but this is all true. This is all the case. This is all authentic knowledge, not New Age, made-up garbage. But as a result, if one were to venture deeply into subterranean regions, and if you were to encounter a subterranean Naga, that person might be someone who would be quite nice to you. Now, of course, like humans, you can encounter a good human or a bad human. You might still meet a Naga who's going to eat you, because that's their nature. Many of them try to transcend that nature now and try to be good beings. But yes, there is indeed an interior of the Earth. As far as Shambhala, let me just say this. The next time that we get together, I can go very in depth into what is the nature of this realm. We just do not have time because I want to do that topic justice. It's something that I know very intimately about and that I can talk about very in depth. But Shambhala is indeed a very real place. It is a place that is ruled perfectly by Dharma. It is a place that is here within this realm, but at the same time not. It's not something that's visible to the eyes. It is a realm where Dharma is upheld perfectly by the individuals of that realm, all of whom are of the same Varna. Now, the last time we talked about Varna, how there are 4 castes, 4 Varnas. Interestingly, the inhabitants of Shambhala belong to a Varna that is above the 4. So, as we know, there are Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. The individuals who live in Shambhala belong to a 5th caste that is called Vajravarna, the Thunderbolt Varna. And what they are a perfect combination of Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. And they are individuals who, they are always the last remnant of civilization when the rest of the world goes insane. And it is from the gates of Shambhala that when the very worst of times comes about, those gates swing open, and from Shambhala comes the king of Shambhala with his army behind him. And one of the last of these individuals will indeed be Kalki, who is an inhabitant, who will be an inhabitant of Shambhala, as the Srimad Bhagavatam explains, but also other scriptures. Kala Chakra Tantra explains this very in depth, but then other sources as well. But Shambhala is a very real place. Let me just say, I'm not going to tell you if it's underground or above ground. I'm not going to reveal that.
I understand. We definitely, I can speak for everyone here very confidently, we would definitely be very interested in a talk, whatever you can reveal to us about Shambhala and at a later. But as the time, I'm just looking at the time now. We probably only have time for one more question. Am I right?
Yeah, we should end in about 5 minutes or so. Yeah, but
Okay.
we can certainly do this again, and we won't let 4 or 5 months go by next time. We'll do this whenever you would like next time.
Definitely looking forward to that. So without further ado, the last question will be, is there such a thing as a soulmate in the Vedic understanding? Another Atman that you are in some way bound with?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. There is indeed such a thing. The depths of what that means is not always the same for all individuals. But yes, there is indeed such a thing as soulmate, as an individual who is perfect for you and who you are perfect for, and who you are really inseparable from. There is indeed such a being, and who, when you meet that being, you feel as if you're meeting another self. You feel as if you're almost meeting another you, but perfect because the person is not perfectly another you. They're also opposite you in all the ways that really count. So you're a man, well, this person is a perfect woman for you in every way and fulfills you on levels that you never even understood existed within you. There is indeed such a thing as soulmates. Is that a good little teaser?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that little teaser of an answer. It's definitely something to leave us to chew on. And you've left us a little bit of reading material too, which is very good.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But it's an absolute honor to get the chance to conduct this interview with you. And we're almost always available. We can make time for you.
Wonderful. Very good. Well, again, thank you. Thank you so much for organizing this. I know many people who are, again, on the same page as all of us in every way, both spiritually, politically, etc., ideological and philosophical understanding. But yes, again, I hope that your group grows tremendously and that together we will be able to indeed do what we talked about, and that is to bring about a golden age. We can do this. It's going to be done. It is happening, actually. Even as we're sitting here right now, it is actually happening in ways that the vast majority of individuals who even think that they know a lot about this world, they don't even know exactly what's happening behind the scenes. But there are things that are happening even right now behind the scenes that are not revealed to the public, that are helping to bring about a wonderful world and to destroy the evil that has controlled our world for at least many hundreds of years, if not longer. It's actually happening. I'm not someone who's prone to exaggeration in any way. Again, people who know me know that. I tell the truth, and I'm not prone to exaggeration or over-emotionalism. But I can say this with absolute faith and assurance that the evil that has ruled our world for hundreds of years is going to be destroyed. And that many of those individual evil people even understand that now. And they're scared to death. They know they're going to be destroyed. They literally know. And what will replace these evil people will be good people, good leaders in every field. In politics, in religion, it's sad, even in religion, people know this. 95% of religious leaders are frauds. I've said this in the past. 90% of individuals who call themselves gurus are frauds in one way or another. They're often exposed as, just something bad. Same thing with priests. So many religious leaders. We know there's corruption everywhere. Well, envision a world in which all of these evil, corrupt politicians and religious leaders, so-called cultural leaders, artists and so-called musicians who just care about nothing but earning their money in order to warp people's minds and psyches and souls. Imagine all these people gone. and replaced by its opposite, by thought leaders, religious leaders, who are good and not corrupted and truly want the best for their people. This is what we're going to see, and more, we're not passive observers. This is what we are going to bring about. Evam bhavatu. May it be so.
Again, thank you for this opportunity. We'll make sure to conclude now so we don't go past the time you've graciously allotted. And as I said, we would be very, very excited to be able to do this or other things with you in the future.
Absolutely my pleasure, and we will definitely keep in touch. Namaste. Jai Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Jai Sriman Narayana. Please take care.
Please take care.